kitten riding along for the victory in the bottom lane. He's right there with his gun or his bow or whatever it might be in hand, ready to answer Berserker mano a mano.
Yes, sir. They're going to go right at it. It was so funny, too, because in the interview, you know, it's like, so, you know, is there anything you can use to take him down? You know, learned about his weaknesses. Sven's like, yeah, I got him downloaded. And Berserker's like, no, he's pretty smart. And Sven's like, crap, wait, I feel bad now. You know,
it's like, oh, he's actually just going to compliment me. Well, Brad. All right, we're into draft. Let's see what we've got here as Ziggs, Jace, and Rumble banned out by LYON. Respect towards the APA Ziggs
Knockwave.
We've got the Malphite, Akali, and Varus banned out by C9, with Azir for C9 being answered by, you said it, man, the Knockwave combo. Ori and Nocturne here for LYON.
Yeah, that is such a powerful combo. Is being brought right back out. You know, if you time it perfectly, it is unavoidable. The question is, will they be able to time it perfectly? You know, are they going to be on the same page? How's the comms going to be in those situations? A lot of power picks on the other side, though, just going through this draft super quickly here. Obviously, really powerful engage tools from both of the junglers here. The Nocturne ult, the Jarvan ult. Blabber had a monster Jarvan game in the second game versus TL last week. The one that they super snowballed. He got ahead early thanks to some, you know, roams from APA, some good skirmishing with his team, and really was able to slam that home. And now it is going to be Dokla taking the Renekton. Obviously, a powerful blind, but it is also a really good takeaway from Thanatos, because Thanatos is known as the Lane Kingdom guy. And he is also going to be really difficult to take down if he gets that pick.
Okay, so let's see where we go now with our second
did these
half.
picks just rearrange?
Yeah, they did, because it was Orianna Nocturne first, and then now the Renekton is first.
Some of the things like this are tripping me out. Last week there's some weird client stuff going on. Hey, last week I thought there was all kinds of crazy role swaps, because in the client it showed that everyone had swapped their champions, and then we got in the game and no one had swapped their champions.
You want to know how to actually be comfortable with this? Just acknowledge to yourself deeply and personally that you're going insane. And then you can just chill the entire time.
Perfect.
Be like, oh yeah, another blip. Cool.
All right, I'm with you.
Cool. We're vibing.
There is a purple elephant in this room.
Yeah,
and that's totally normal.
You know what? This is just another day at the office. We got ourselves some marksman bands coming out from C9. Since they already have the Corki down there for Sven, they'll take Yunara off the table. Meanwhile, LYON, with that blind Renekton that you talked about, they want to get rid of a couple good responses there for Thanatos. They will remove the Gnar, they will remove the Gwen, and it's Lucian also banned out here by C9, continuing to target the marksman role.
Yeah, triple 80 carry ban, and they did take that Corki away. Of course, there are a lot of options still. Ezreal really popular as far as the poke route is concerned, and that is going to be what they're going for here. The question is, are they going to have just like a go button, like a Nautilus or something like that as their lack pick, or are they going to look to pick for lane dominance, right? Because you're saving support pick here for last. You can go enchanters, which have been really, really popular. Things like Karma Ezreal are super popular. Karma is up and available. Vulcan is going to be having to blind his support, and we're just waiting for that counter pick from Thanatos to see what he's going to get. Because yes, there are a lot of pretty strong tools. So this would be a pretty sharp lane counter, something that is pretty difficult for the Renekton to actually lane into. We did see Thanatos bring it out last week when he was playing against Morgan on TL, and he brought it out against the Rumble, but Morgan actually played that lane really, really well, and it ended up being just about dead even. So we'll see how Dokla can actually withstand this pressure, because that can be super tough as far as that 1v1 is concerned.
The thing that I usually worry about if I see Aurora as the top laner is, does the team have enough of a front line? Do they have enough real traditional engage? Jarvan is really going to be that lone frontliner this time with the Nami locked in next to the Corki on support.
They don't have a lot of frontline, so I think more what you're going to see in a lot of these fights from Blabber is he's just going to ult in and then flag and drag backwards, and you're going to have like the Nami ult coming over the top, you're going to have the Aurora ult there, like all this damage is going to get piled in. He's not necessarily going to be trying to stay in the front line, because he's the sole melee champion on this team, right? If he just stays up there, I think he's going to get knocked down pretty quickly. Was that Karma, as I was mentioning earlier, so they are going more for the poke style, more for that lane dominance. There's not necessarily like the traditional go buttons of, you know, Nautilus and the support style, but of course you have Knockwave as a potential hard engage on one side. The threat of that Renekton flank is obviously that much higher when you have Nocturne ult to turn off the wards, turn off the lights. And then on the other side, it's really just going to be about potential playmaking from APA or Blabber ulting in, just kind of to set up the team. I think, less just staying in and committing, and more I'm just expecting him just ult in, Aurora ult comes over the top, Nami ult comes over the top. Like, all of these AoE tools are just going to get fired in and try to create chaos in this LYON squad.
And I feel like I talk about this all the time when I see Jarvan locked in. I love seeing early active Jarvan gaming, and especially in a matchup like this, where what you're talking about is a front line that's not really there to stick around and see the outcome of everything, but rather just start it off. I want to see early active plays from Blabber that much more, because if he's not at least even with the curve of the game, hopefully slightly ahead, I feel like maybe when you go in for that Cataclysm, you don't get to use your flag to get back out.
Yeah, absolutely true. I mean, it is one of those champions that can be very snowbally one way or the other. Jarvan can look really oppressive from ahead, and from behind, you are just kind of a gold delivery service. You're not doing a lot. As we can see, Inspired going up towards this top side, just trying to see if he can get a little bit of a poke down. And I think that was his ward that he dropped as well. So going to drop his ward in that side lane brush. That is really important in these range versus melee matchups, that you have that ward, because otherwise what happens is Thanatos will actually just sit in that side brush and jump in and out, dropping aggro from the minions over and over and over. So Inspired goes up top, hits a Q on Thanatos, drops a ward for his top laner. Just a little thing, but it is going to help you a lot in that 1v1.
Exactly. It does a lot of little lifting there, especially if you're not super worried about a crazy level 1, any kind of invade here, then you don't really feel too bad about throwing the ward up there in the alcove anyway. APA versus Saint here in the mid lane. APA winning player of the week last week. I think he had a really strong performance, and I think a lot of people were really hoping to see that with him switching environments over to C9 from TL, especially with 2025 feeling like more of a regressive year for APA compared to what we saw in 24.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it was a huge performance from him, really well-deserved player of the week, and to do it against the person who replaced you, the team that replaced you, I think is really, really cool.
Thanatos has that early lane control that we are expecting from the Aurora. So Dokla's job just going to be make sure you can survive, make sure you're relevant here once it gets to the bigger team fights. Both of our top laners do have the non-combat summoner spell option here. They are both going with the normal style of teleport versus waiting on the quest to complete. So for Dokla, he just needs to stick around in lane as long as he can, so at least there's something of value on that first buy. Yeah,
exactly. You're just really trying to withstand the onslaught. In these matchups, you have to be careful about what minions you're fighting for and what minions you're giving up. You cannot afford to lose too much HP.
Ooh, -1.
Does miss the cannon, that sucks. Miss the range minion as well, but we touched on it earlier. Sven versus Berserker. These guys have a lot of history together. Played together for quite a while on Cloud9. He first came here in 2022. Sven swapped to support for him. He was obviously an AD carry main his entire career previous to that, but these guys did really, really well. Average finish 1.33, so almost always up in that first place range. They won 2 titles. They got top all-pro positions, and then Sven did move on, left Dignitas, returned to that AD carry position. Berserker then stayed with Cloud9 for a little bit before then moving on to the LCK, joined the DN Freaks. Obviously doing a lot worse post-breakup, but let's be honest, he was on a much worse team in the LCK, and the LCK is a very hard league. So
it's a pretty challenging place to compete in professional League of Legends.
Yeah, turns out they've won a couple titles here and there.
Turns out they might have more than everybody else put together by multiple degrees. Turns out their best team might have more than everybody else in the world. It happens. It happens.
But Berserker, I think, still showed some pretty impressive games individually in the LCK, and excited to have him back here in the league. And I know LYON, their fans are really excited to have him here as well. Definitely part of what people are kind of calling this super team that LYON has put together. Obviously, you got Inspired. He was the LTA Player of the Year last year. To many, he is not only the best Western jungler, he is the best Western player, period. And you were able to grab him. You were able to bring in Berserker. You were able to bring in Saint. It's a lot of firepower here for LYON. And the question to a lot of people was kind of like, how is the team going to mesh? Are they going to work really well together quickly?
The intangibles.
Exactly. And there's been, so much excitement from the LATAM community talking about this team. And just kind of like, hey, we have a team as LATAM that is representing us here in the LCS that has a chance to win a title, that has a chance to really do some damage. So a lot of their fans are just super excited about that.
Yeah, and why wouldn't you be? Like you're saying, these caliber of players, super high, the opportunity, the ceiling there, the hypothetical achievements this team could make their way to. Very, very powerful stuff. As Dokla up here in that top lane is still down a couple of waves worth of farm, and Thanatos is just continuing to make the laning phase miserable for him here with the Aurora. Just zones him all the way away. And honestly, nothing super wild in any of our lanes happening just yet, although you can see the EXP bars on your screen. Solo laners are getting very close to those ultimate points. A lot of times, particularly against these immobile mages, Azir will go in with the shuffle as soon as he hits level 6, force out the flash, and then the jungler knows, okay, as soon as that shuffle's ready to go again, that's when we make the real move.
Yeah, people meme about these kind of roams, you know, like Vulcan on the Nami, roams mid. You know, the Nami gank is kind of a meme, but at the same time, he had nothing else to do bot. He just walks mid, throws out one heal that's like +1 potion for free. You know, that just creates this little bit of an advantage there. Dokla is getting cooked in this matchup, though. He's now down 20 CS. He has no TP. The wave was really bad for him. Nice bubble lands.
Yeah, it's a good bubble, but Inspired being here means that there's nothing else for C9 to do, so they're not going to pursue this any further. Just a quick snappy trade. You can see the ward in the Dragon Pit that has been placed from C9 will make them aware now that Inspired has fired the Duskbringer towards the objective, and honestly, 545, pretty early first Drake start.
Going to be able to start that up pretty early. This first plate might actually get lost by Thanatos as he base. No, I think just barely it's going to stay up. Has like legit 1 auto of health.
Ooh, Sven takes a lot of damage there, down to about 300 HP. Nami heal is going to keep him around half as Blabber shows up. Now, critically, Blabber is level 6 on the Jarvan, inspired 3/4 of the way to that ultimate himself with his Nocturne. So distinctive advantage here for C9. Blabber still hanging around. Isles and Berserker still far enough forward. There might be an opportunity here for Blabber. Meanwhile, APA going for that shuffle that I was talking about down here on the bottom side. It's Isles the target as Blabber goes in for the first blood. The Marshall Caden's going to claim it. As back in the mid lane, they're both very low on HP. Inspired still looking to grab his level 6. Needs this chicken camp to unlock the paranoia and make a move on APA. Wave crashing into the turret right now. APA almost entirely out of mana, very low on health. Turret shot's going to claim the last minion. Inspired still only level 5, so no play to make here. C9 up 1-0.
Yeah, that was actually really close. I think if he was going to get 6 there, he might have been able to actually look for an instant ult mid and just try to get him. But couldn't leech enough experience from mid lane there, so unfortunately not able to make it happen. And Blabber had enough time to get back and defend his red. Right now, it's kind of just a tale of two lanes, right? It's kind of top versus bot right now, it feels like, as Thanatos has a really big laning advantage on top side. Blabber, pretty big gold advantage with that kill that he's grabbing, then Berserker on the other side is way ahead.
Okay, APA looking for Saint here yet again. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is the play down in the bottom lane. Blabber, it cost his flash to get that kill for C9, but his ultimate is still available. That's still a ton of playmaking to try to force something else right after. So I want to see if Blabber can really keep the tempo high here. Dokla back in lane now. Null Magic and Tier 1 boots does not feel particularly powerful in lane. You've got the Faded Ashes alongside the boots and the Dark Seal there picked up for Thanatos' Aurora. You already pointed out the big CS discrepancy. It translates into a meaningful gold gap here as well of just under about 500. The only other gap in the game that is around that same level is Blabber, who got the first blood.
Yeah, and he has a nice little experience lead as well. There's still some more minions for him to farm. He's already, I don't know, 30% ahead as far as that one level is concerned of that XP bar. So looking pretty good. Sven and Vulcan do seem to be stabilizing a bit, but still down quite a bit as far as the farm concerned. And you know, Inspired versus Blabber, pretty big matchup here in the LCS. You know, Blabber had been big dog on campus. He had been like the de facto #1 jungler for a long time in NA. But then in came River, in came Inspired, and it kind of stopped being true, right? You know, it started...
No king rules forever.
Exactly. You know, it started to be Blabber kind of falling down in people's prospective power rankings a little bit. This time, though, Blabber does have a good start, and we will have to see, you know, can he actually turn this into something? These are the last 5 times these players have actually matched up as far as, you know, series play was concerned. Inspired did win 3 of them, but I know, you know, all time, the head-to-head is pretty heavily favored towards Inspired, and Blabber is looking to change that. You know, Blabber definitely wants to get back on top and try to reclaim his spot, you know, as the best jungler in the LCS. And there is a clear #1. If you can't beat Inspired, it doesn't really matter how you do against the other junglers. No one's going to say you're better than Inspired, and no one's going to say you're #1 until you take him down, because he is just the best player in the league.
Right. If you can't beat him, you've got a really shiny silver medal that you're making sure is certainly yours, but you're not going for the gold unless he's going to be in the rearview mirror, right? This is the guy you've got to pass up.
Got to steal it from the champ.
Yeah, if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. Cloud9 up 1,000 gold. First neutral objectives have been traded one for the other as LYON acquires the Hextech Drake first, but all 3 grubs go over to C9. If Thanatos can keep building powerful leads in the side lane, the grubs, of course, will be able to add a lot of extra value to the potential split push there of the Aurora. 95 versus 64 in the farm means that the Bunny Girl's causing problems still up there in the top lane head-to-head. It doesn't really look like we're seeing a whole lot of relief for Dokla. Inspired does have his ultimate available. He is on that side of the map, but he's just clearing top to bottom through his camps.
Yeah, and the real problem against Aurora is not only that it's so abusive in the 1v1, it's really hard to gank. Like, you can go in and full send your ult as a Nocturne, and obviously you do have the stun from Renekton. Like, you have good gank setup, but Aurora can go invis, jump away, ult, bounce across the map. Like, it's really hard to lock down Aurora.
Ooh, hold on. Blabber goes in here, wants to try to scrap with Inspired over the chickens, but now Blabber is down to 40% HP. Inspired goes in, Cataclysm right back on top of him. Blabber is low. Saves grab the kill, Blabber is down. Inspired still fighting for now as APA is likely to drop here too, and LYON shows their fangs. Inspired barely dies there at the end to bring the trade to a 2-for-1.
Yeah, Inspired didn't even have to go down. He could have just walked out, but he's hitting the ward, a little bit greedy there. But that spell shield, he spell shielded APA's ulti, and I think that was 100% intentional, 100% reacted to. That was beautiful, and it's plays like that that make him the best jungler in the league. Blabber decides to go in, does find this flag and drag in onto him, but APA, of course, is going to be slower to arrive because Saint has that quicker path. Once they have Blabber chunked down a little bit, they decide, you know what, we're just actually going to go for it. We're going to re-engage. Now, watch the spell shield here. He tries to go in, turn it around. Beautiful play there from Inspired. Blocks that, gets the heal, and should have been able to get out.
Hold on, we're not done. The violence continues here in the bottom lane. Isles, one more auto attack. He's going to take him down. Sven with the fadeaway rocket. Now wants to get it back on Berserker. Pops his barrier. Both AD carries at the edge of death. Berserker staying alive for now, but no! A double kill for Sven. The support, the prodigal son, has returned to AD carry, and he shows Berserker how to play it.
Yeah, beautifully played there by Sven. Just constantly dipping in and out of the minions, making so that Berserker can't actually hit the Mystic shots in that 1v2 to try to take them down. I think it was the minions even that finished off Berserker as he was actually running away. Had minion aggro there, does go down. Sven and Vulcan, they're now up in gold. Let's watch this one more time. It's the Nami ulti to start it off, and Isles is just trying to sidestep this bubble that never even comes in. Sven nails the last rocket, flashes away, and then this is what I'm talking about. Sven just kind of goes behind those minions, trying to block as many of those Mystic shots as he can. Beautifully played.
And it was the caster minion that got the last shot, but if y'all were paying attention to the picture-in-picture in the replay, it was an Ezreal true shot barrage from the fountain as soon as Berserker respawned that shot Sven straight through the biplane there, took him out of the picture, got a revenge kill. 4-4 overall on the board, as we did see the flash forced over in mid lane. Again, so much pressure being kept on the Orianna. These immobile mages, you want to keep that flash down. You want to make them scared to play aggressively. We'll see if that ends up factoring into this dragon spawning here in about 1 minute. Rift Herald just about 2 minutes away. Thanatos maintains control over the top side, but it's not like that gold lead has bled further and further since we checked on it earlier. It's kind of stabilized around this -30, -35 spot for Dokla. But with Liandry's Torment now completed for Thanatos, Dokla's only got upgraded shoes plus a baseline Tiamat. There's a pretty big power difference between these top laners if they both decide to show up for a Dragon or a Herald.
Yeah, it is absolutely massive right now. Dokla, he's weak-sided, and he's just gonna kind of have to hang on. And we did show some stats from him earlier on the lounge. They were talking about 8th, was kind of struggling as far as his laning was concerned. But that was kind of the card he was dealt both last week and so far this week. Where last week against Photon was playing the Ignite Kennen into his Renekton, and he was also getting camped by the Vi. Like, it's a pretty tough situation to be in. Then you're blind picking the Renekton. Obviously, you do have some protection bans, right? But still, Thanatos has been the best laning top laner in the league, and you're playing against his counterpick Aurora. So you are going to have a tough time. Blabber down towards bot, looking to see if he can find something as this Corki Nami does start getting pretty oppressive. The Triforce is done now. And this duo, once the mandate is there, really does become quite powerful. You just throw that Tidecaller's Blessing up. Sven just kind of moves forward and puts that pressure on them. And we talked about kind of the lack of like the true engage. There is that knock wave, but besides that, there's not really a lot of things he has to be scared of. So he's going to just get E'd by Nami and kind of walk forward.
Inspired goes in, but the Drake has already been secured by Blabber. APA with a 3-man ulti while Inspired has to flash over the wall to escape the C9 firepower. LYON thought that they'd be able to win a smite fight. They want to send for it. But as soon as Blabber claims the victory over the objective, there's nothing left to fight, so LYON leave empty-handed.
Yeah, and that's even better for them because Thanatos stayed top and just farmed plates, right? So he's up there on that top side. Dokla had to go back to base. Look at it, it's nearly 50 CS in the top lane now, 1.3k gold advantage as Thanatos cashes in on some plates.
Yeah, Saint drops the shockwave there onto Sven, but because the Nami is still nearby, Vulcan just heals him right back up, not really worried about it. Sven hits him with the trademark Papega Frog emote just to say that didn't really matter. And C9's perfectly comfortable with things right now. The Rift Herald is live on the map, and you can see both junglers are around the area.
Yeah, I mean, that Orianna is really strong, but not strong enough to just solo him out instantly.
Yeah,
you need someone else there, but I mean, he has the Ludens, he has extra items on top, has 2 kills, so had the shock, but not the knock. You need a both.
Unlucky.
Yeah.
Unlucky.
Yeah. But Cloud9 looking pretty good, but that being said, still gold advantages for the carries on LYON. So it's really going to be a question of can Thanatos, leverage this lane advantage that he's created to turn that into something in the team fights, or can he continue to snowball in that 1v1? He's farmed a lot of plates on the top side. What is he going to be able to get done with that advantage? And I think the question is they're going to try to use his pressure to start up this Herald.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say is you love having a fed top laner as the jungler when you see 15 minutes on the clock and it's time to go to Rift Herald. Because you've got such a good chance at being able to control that fight and control that objective. TPs are coming in, though. C9 has started up the objective, but now they got to try to get away because LYON is bringing in the Croc. Dokla immediately hit by the bubble. Cannot find a valuable target. True Shot Barrage only hits APA's Azir. The Rift Herald going to reset partially, losing some of that patience. Thanatos over the wall looking for the opportunity to go in. Blabber wants to arrive here with the EQ, but the Herald's going to be slain by Inspired. Dokla now finds a kill, and Blabber is dead. C9 thought they wanted to fight for this, but LYON was better prepared. They'll take the objective, they'll take Blabber, and they'll take a win here in this quick scuffle.
Yeah, nicely done there by LYON, but Sven was pushing mid this entire time, so Sven is going to be picking up a decent amount of gold. Blabber did go down, and Inspired got the smite, so they do walk away with the objective. A lot of TPs were committed to this play. We saw both the TP from the Renekton as well as from the Azir to get over here, whereas Thanatos was able to just walk over. And Dokla just trying to do his best, just pushing this wave, try to get the reset, stay relevant. He picked up the kill there as well off of Blabber, so that allows him to get to his stride breaker. He is still down gold, but not as bad as it was. C9, though, really a lot of focus on just chipping away on these towers. There's 2 plates top, there's 1 plate mid, 1 plate bot, so they're getting very close to grabbing that first turret, and all of their towers on the other side are quite healthy.
400 gold separates the team 17.5 minutes into the game, and this is exactly the type of game that I was hoping to see between these teams, because it's not like they've both just been sitting there handshaking, okay, all we're going to do is scale. We've had some attempted plays back and forth. We've had Inspired say, no, I'm willing to go in for the 50-50 on this Dragon and miss it. And then we've had C9 say, no, we're willing to try to contest here with this Herald, and then they lose the fight. Both teams are willing to take those risks, and they're also both capable of answering when the other team is just a little bit too confident. Now we have about 90 seconds until the next Drake spawns. Drake's only 1-1 right now, so no serious stacking threat from either team. But I still don't think that's enough to dissuade them, because I feel like either team should have the confidence right now to win that fight at Drake.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's going to be down to execution. You can see that Saint is going in towards the Shadow Flame. Tries to actually stop that recall with his ulti, but it was empowered by the Herald, so got back to base faster perhaps than Vulcan was expecting. But once that Shadow Flame is completed, it is going to be so much burst, because this is not one of these defensive slow builds. This is Ludens into Shadow Flame. This is the one-shot you type of build. And if that is timed well with Inspired, it is going to be so deadly. You can see the APA is respecting that, already has the Seekers, knowing that he has to be careful in these situations. Sven obviously has the barrier, has the Valkyrie, has Vulcan potentially behind him to try to help him live through that. But if you do get comboed, it's going to be really tough, because you're expecting then Berserker's ult to be coming over the top. You're expecting the Renekton to be coming in all at the same time, which is really what LYON is going to be looking for. And C9 has got to be able to absorb that first punch and then try to win the fight in the extended play.
With the Dragon on the approach, Blabber's going to go ahead and take the blue buff there. They'll pass that off as Sven will pick it up to guarantee rocket spam as they volley back and forth for positioning over the objective. It's C9 with bot river control first, as LYON are going to bring in a TP. Inspired tags APA with a Dustbringer, which means C9 feels compelled to back away. Thanatos does have his teleport ready to join up with this fight, but he is still top lane, and you can see pings coming out from the C9 side onto the top lane tier 1. They're having Thanatos commit to taking this, as the Herald is summoned up mid lane by Dokla. They're going to crash the Herald in. Big chunk of damage there. Almost all plates removed. It's a race for the first turret. Thanatos versus LYON, and the first turret is going to go over to LYON by just a single auto attack. Inspired claims that one.
Yeah, and they get the Dragon too, so that is really good for LYON. Also, very interesting tech here from Inspired. He's building towards Abyssal, so you're going to have that damage amp, that magic damage amp, as he's going in for the Orianna combo, right? So they're putting even more eggs in the basket here of this knock wave.
There it is. They want to jump in after the Emperor. The Seeker's Arm Guard going to buy him a moment. The Sun Disc trying to protect APA, who stays alive for now.
Spell shield
goes
again!
for the shuffle, but the second time, Inspired plays so patiently. He waits on the spell shield, he blocks the Emperor's Divide, and he secures the kill.
That is actually insane, because APA didn't even do the obvious Panic ultimate, where as soon as you get out of the fear, a lot of people will just mash ulti because they know they're going down. He didn't even spell shield then. APA EQ'd out of the fear and then ulted, expecting that the spell shield, surely during all these animations, you have to use it.
Now Saint's got to try to get away here. Flashes the tidal wave. Had to do so, otherwise the short knock-up from that Nami ult would have guaranteed the follow-up from the rest of C9. So LYON's mid laner, again, they're always putting pressure on this Orianna's flash, but they need to be able to follow it up with some kill pressure afterwards, because despite the fact that I feel like this is 3 times now, we've seen this flash purposefully blown by C9 putting resources into it, Saint's still 2-0-2.
Yeah.
They have not punished.
Yeah, I mean, Saint is playing really well defensively when he has no flash. And look at this. They go in here. And now watch this. So right out of the fear, this is when you expect him to actually just match. EQ doesn't spell shield, then spell shields after. Like, that is insane. That you trust your own read and your own reactions, your own anticipation, whatever you want to call it, to be able to actually hold it in that situation. 10 times out of 10, I'm pressing spell shield as soon as he comes out of fear, and I'm wasting it on the Q or whatever, right? Like, that is really, really impressive from Inspired. Being able to block it like that in multiple fights, I don't know if it really mattered in that one, but damn, that guy's
still
he's
cool
pretty good at
see.
League of Legends.
And he's got his Abyssal Mask now as well, like you were talking about, to just amp up that Orianna damage even further. Thanatos using the ulti down here in the bottom lane, trying to defend against the push of LYON, but as Dokla shows up, he has enough HP to just force down this tier 1, even though he has to absorb a couple turret shots in the process. And now LYON's got themselves that very slight gold lead that C9 has commanded for most of the game. Those leads are on Inspired and on Saint, but hey, considering they're lacking that initial go button like you've talked about multiple times already, because Orianna Nocturne is what has to start the fight, I can't think of better champions to have your 2 gold leads on. Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, we have seen Inspired have a lot of success on this pick specifically. You know, he has been really good on the Nocturne, 8-2 in his career. 6.4 KDA, has been very successful. You can probably say that about a lot of champions, though. This guy just tends to win League of Legends games.
League of Legends pretty good.
Yep,
pretty good.
It's really, really fun. You know, we've talked about this in the past, but when you were talking League with him, like, he is so opinionated, but he also is so well informed on not just jungle, but on every role. Like, he will sit there when he's on the analyst desk and he'll talk about how, oh, this guy is really trolling the mid lane matchup. You need to play it differently like this. You need to be more aggressive at this level, or he did the wrong skill order.
Okay, Inspired going in now. Has that knock wave with Saint yet again with True Shot Barrage over the top. It's that easy for LYON to knock it down. The 2.5-man play seals the deal. They get the first kill of the game on Thanatos.
Yep, going to be able to knock down Thanatos there. It's on 2 items, but this is just smart. You know, Inspired and Saint, he's playing towards this real strength that he has in the Orianna, who is very far ahead. And he's just kind of saying, you know what, Dokla, I'm sure the matchup wasn't fun, but just hang on, buddy. And Dokla has done that. You know, at one point, Dokla was down 50 CS. He's still down 30 plus CS, but really it doesn't matter at all now, right? Like 400 gold at 24 minutes is just nothing, right?
It's a longsword and a ward.
Yeah,
like,
who cares?
Whatever, right? It doesn't really matter that much. He is working on Hex Drinker towards the Maw of Malmortius, considering enemy team is double AP solo lanes, and the most fed person on the enemy team in terms of their farm is one of those 2 solo laners. I feel like Maw can bring you a ton of value.
Even the Nami with Mandate and like the E damage and all this sort of stuff is going to be even more magic damage. So you know, even if Corki's hitting you, you're putting in some magic damage because of those buffs from the Nami, right?
Yeah.
So definitely think it is a high value pick there. A lot of them are being purchased up. You know, obviously the Abyssal has its defensive capabilities as well, but yeah, Abyssal is one of those items that I think is just criminally underrated. Like 12% damage amp for a fed AP carry is a lot. Like that is just a lot of increased damage, and it is a cheap and effective item that has CDR on it, so his ult is going to be up more often as well. I think it's really smart tech in this situation from Inspired. Like he knows he is not the damage. He is just getting CDR, and he's the delivery service for the damage, which is the Orianna.
All right, everybody's squaring off around this next Drake that has spawned. It'll be sold point if LYON claims it. And LYON does have Inspired in this bottom side river first. Dustbringer tags only Blabber's Jarvan. As skill shots fly back and forth, tracking blue buffs here. It's Inspired and Saint with that infinite mana. As Blabber goes in for the Cataclysm onto Inspired. Flag and drag right back out like you were talking about earlier. Azael, there's your engage coming out with the knock wave. C9 scatters, they're trying to regroup in time. Dokla with the pressure onto Sven here into the back line. Sven dies, but so does Dokla. APA going gold, but he is likely to fall here too. No, he survives thanks to the shielding. True Shot Barrage flies through and just barely misses the Emperor of Shurima. APA does have his teleport to come back to this fight if C9 want to keep going back for it. As you're going to see Saint do a very similar play here. He still has his Seeker's Arm Guard ready to go. APA had to use his stasis through the Hourglass in the earlier fight. TP's bringing both mid laners back into the action now as APA arrives first. C9 control over the Drake. It's down to about 3,000. It's going to get lower. APA trying to keep everybody away. Thanatos with the weirding over the wall, and Inspired has to retreat. The Dragon claimed by C9.
Yeah, nicely done. You know, even though the initial fight went the way of LYON, and you're thinking, oh, surely they get the Dragon now. The problem with these champions, the weak part of these champions is that without the ultis, they really are not very strong, right? You know, Nocturne, Orianna with ulti, so threatening. Without ulti, it's a very different story. I really got to credit both Saint and Dokla. They created so much space for Inspired when he was ulted in by Blabber that no one was really able to hit him from the C9 side. So even though he was stuck in the Cataclysm the full time, no one was hitting him. And then this Knockwave re-engage was great. Saint is able to survive. They're able to get some pressure down. Berserker, potentially in trouble, but will walk away. And it's these little things in fights that, you know, aren't always obvious, but as soon as Inspired got ulted, you saw both Dokla moving up and Saint placing the ball aggressively, so APA could just never hit the guy in the Cataclysm. And these are these small things in team fights that completely change how they go.
Okay, let's see where we go from here. With the gold lead still not even cresting 1,000 either way, you can see inventories becoming more and more complete. LDR for Sven, while Berserker is going for the much riskier item, right? One of those new additions to the game in 2026 with the Endless Hunger, the Omni Vamp, that you really get the biggest amount of it once you get at least one takedown. And now in mid lane, there's your Knockwave yet again. Inspired. The delivery system finds its way to the Corki, and Sven is down. Blabber has to go full retreat now, lest he be caught in the same trap. And with the enemy marksman out of the picture for more than 30 seconds, Azael, I think the call is Baron.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Baron, though, is very scary to take because everyone in the Baron pit, around the Baron hitting it, it's not just the person that tanks it, you know, gets that magic debuff. So, you know, when you are going up against the Aurora and this Azir, it is super frightening, and they do have to pay respect to that.
Dokla coming around for a flank. APA over the wall as Berserker tries to follow. Takes about half his HP in damage. Tidal Wave flows through, but doesn't hit a whole lot. C9 scrambling as APA again with a stasis tries to get over the wall. Flashes to safety. Would not have had the time to try to use the E to get over the wall. Dokla would have been able to stun him, so he has to go for the instant action there in the flash. C9 will stop LYON from securing that Baron for themselves, but it does cost some resources.
Yep, definitely does. Baron's just no joke now. You really do take a lot of damage, especially against these AP teams. If you get in that pit, everyone gets debuffed by Baron, you can just get AoE'd down pretty easily. But at the end of the day, you know, they get that kill, they put on some pressure, they force a flash. Those are all great, but it is just the 800 gold lead. It is 2-2 as far as the Dragons are concerned. And we are just having an incredible game one. I think, you know, some people did have some questions about, you know, how LYON was going to look against C9 because their Dignitas series wasn't as convincing, I think, as people hoped. You know, there were some moments where you're like, is Dignitas actually going to win this? A team that had a full bot lane sub, you know, in the bot lane. And, you know, especially that game, too, it really felt like, hey, maybe Dig is actually going to win this before Inspired just took over on the Pantheon, you know, kept finding Photon on these flanks, kept making these big plays, as you expect him to do. But then, you know, we have C9, who had taken down TL on the other side, and, you know, that was kind of the number one power ranked team. Yeah. But both of these teams, as we can see here, you know, did have kind of some moments in those games. Yeah,
the potential almost losing Baron while nearly 10,000 gold ahead is definitely something that's going to rattle faith for fans of LYON. Meanwhile, over on the other side, it was Team Liquid that was ahead of C9 for pretty much a full half an hour on Summoner's Rift, but then once that throw happened, C9 never let them have the game back. We remember the follow-up mistakes in the jungle from TL with the Magical Journey. It was a little bit silly, but still, C9 was ready to punish. So for LYON, I want to see them not make those types of early late game mistakes that resulted in a 10,000 gold Baron surrender towards Dignitas, because I think that if they make that kind of a mistake, C9 is much more likely to be able to punish.
I agree, and I feel like LYON looks a lot more locked in, though. You know, whether it's something like, sometimes you're playing a team, you expect to beat them, maybe you're not as locked in, maybe you're underestimating Dignitas a little bit, you get a little bit fast and loose, you try to make some big plays. You know, people were talking about in Berserker, you know, that flash in the 1v2 in mid lane, you know, trying to make a big play. It's like, well, would he do that against top team? So far, they have been very patient, they have been very measured in their play. And Inspired just continuing forward with this tanky build, has the Kanik Rookern. He is going to be really tough for these magic damage dealers to actually knock down, and it's going to be a lot up to Zven to be able to do that. But the real plan here is send the knockwave on Zven every single time, and if Zven dies or is out of the fight, there's no physical damage to kill Inspired and Dokla, who have a lot of MR. So, you know, that's kind of how I look oftentimes at these like one physical damage threat teams, is if you can put the pressure on that guy and push him out of the fight, well, all the magic damage is going to struggle to deal with you after that.
Yeah, it's pretty tough for Aurora to burst somebody through Abyssal Mask and Kanik Rookern and a Spell Shield, right? Like, that Nocturne is going to be rather evasive. 2 Dragons to 2 so far, 31 minutes into the game. Next Drake is live on the map, and both of our teams are squaring up for position. Inspired will be the first to start this off. Does have the level 16 Nocturne. Blabber also with the final level of his ult here on the Jarvan, as LYON are going to try to drag the Drake towards the upper half of this river. Dokla still on the backside of the Drake pit. Thanatos having him marked, chasing after him, trying to make Dokla second guess about entering into this fight.
Blabber has GA as well, which could be really big.
Okay, Dokla flashing with the dominance. They want to try to engage onto Thanatos. The Aurora is bursted low, but he gets away between worlds for now. The Mystic Shot's not going to kill him off. Thanatos staying alive. Dokla's dominance still isolated from the rest of the team. C9 looking to push back forward towards the Drake. LYON looking for their opportunities here, but all of the ultis are spent. There's still Cataclysm, there's still Emperor's Divide for C9. They know they've got these tools, they know they have more resources to work with, and it allows them to claim the objective.
I mean, that was ridiculously close. They almost burst down Thanatos. He barely got through on that ulti to hop out the other side. Then he went between worlds, he went into that W, hopped out. I think he got tagged by the Mystic Shot, but the Nami heal kept him alive through it. So it was very, very close in that moment to being able to knock him down. But when you commit that much and you don't kill him, well, that's kind of the end of the fight for you. So made it a little bit of a risky play. They decided to try to isolate Thanatos because Thanatos was winning this 1v1 against Dokla. Dokla's just kind of getting bullied on the side. And I think that pressured LYON into going for it. But now that is back-to-back 5v5 fights at these dragons where C9 comes out on top and C9 walks away with another dragon. If you give C9 Cloud Soul, the extra move speed just makes it so much harder to finish off these kills, to be able to lock people down. There's that potential of just getting kited out, which is going to make things a lot more difficult. Because again, I just feel like LYON is all about that first punch, and C9, if they don't lose the fight in that first punch, are going to win out most of the time in the extended fights.
Well, our gold lead is still the same place it's been in for about 20 straight minutes now, Azael. Just 1,000 separating the teams. Baron is live. No Dragon for the next 4 minutes or thereabouts. You do have fully completed Zhonya's Hourglass for both mid laners. The Guardian Angel you already mentioned for Blabber has not been popped yet. Top laners don't really have any big get-out-of-jail-free cards like that, but you do still have the Maw Shield for Dokla's Renekton. Over on the other side, Bloodletter's Curse completed for Thanatos for even more of that damage, not just for himself, but also for APA's Azir. All right, and there we go. Just clearing out the Scuttle Crab here, guaranteeing some vision over the bottom side. And now that Inspired has hit his power spike with all of these items completed, remember the MasterCard is rewarding card holders with their chance at $50 in RP. You can head on over to priceless.com/powerspike or click on the pin link in chat for your chance to win. Complete your own full build.
Sounds good. Make sure you go register for that right now. APA, C9 trying to set up here around that mid lane. And the poke not really mattering too much. Vulcan doing a good job just kind of constantly healing them up through any poke that Berserker can land. And they do have to be pretty careful about C9 getting access to that Baron.
So Berserker also almost has his second tier fully stacked. Vulcan in some danger now. The burst, though, not quite enough to kill him off. Once Berserker fully completes this second tier, I have to assume it's going to be Archangel's Staff as that second item. I don't really think he's going to go for
the
diadem of songs. I don't really think that matches the Ezreal, but who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, second tier.
Never be too sure.
Nearly fully stacked. Yeah, maybe it's the new. So I remember double blue Ezreal from back in the day that caused tier items to have to be changed.
I mean, he used to build every blue item. He built the blue jungle item. He built the Iceborne Gauntlet. He built all the tier items. He built anything that was blue. He was buying it.
Spirit of the Elder Lizard, forever ruined by Ezreal. Yep. I'm going to have a vendetta against Ezreal until the end of my days because of Spirit of the Elder Lizard. But LYON is...
the blood feud.
Yeah, exactly, man. It runs deep. But LYON right now, they know they've got 2 minutes left on the clock, and they have to be able to stop C9 from getting that Cloud Soul for the reasons you talked about earlier. What's the game plan for LYON knowing that?
I mean, I really think it's maybe a bit oversimplified, but it's just about finding the right setup at these objectives. I do think it's making a big difference that C9 is getting there first. They seem to often be the ones that are kind of taking control. I want to see LYON get there early enough that C9 has to walk in through the Mystic Shots, through the Orianna Ball, through the Karma Qs, through all this harassment to make it a lot more difficult. And then if they're grouping up in these corridors as they are trying to enter, you can send the Knockwave and maybe kind of turn around that fight. Because LYON, these last couple ones, just has not been able to really get the perfect engage and zero out a kill. They just have to get that kill with the first go of these ultis.
Sub 1 minute. Ooh, flash from Thanatos. That's actually a pretty big summoner spell for Dokla to force out there as Blabber goes in. Inspired tries to find the counter engage here, going for the back line of C9, but Inspired is now low. The Nocturne trying to escape as Blabber looks to maybe follow it. Thanatos and APA, they have plenty of damage, but nobody's in range. As you do have the Cataclysm spent, the Nami Tidal Wave. Critically, that time, we did not see the Knockwave combo go off. It was just the Nocturne flying in alone. Saint was not there for the follow-up.
Exactly, because they were putting pressure on him, so he went into his Zhonya's, and I think the ball maybe tethered, or maybe it was just that was right during that Zhonya's moment, but the pressure that Blabber put onto Saint made it so he couldn't actually follow up. And then when you are going this tank-style build, that is the downside. If you do not time that combo, you do nothing. You ult in. At this point of the game, you are a zero threat as that Nocturne. You are just the delivery service. That is it.
All right, we're back to fighting for this. You've almost got that ulti ready again. Okay, Paranoia, once more ready to cast. Sven gonna go ahead, start up the Drake. C9 has control over the pit. Dokla popping the Dominus, tries to go in, finds Thanatos, knocked up into the air by the bubble, but there's your Knockwave! Vulcan's already down. LYON continues pressing forward, and Dokla's got the kill on Thanatos. The Croc about to drop, but Blabber doesn't have the damage to take him out. Inspire's right on top of the Drake, and APA is dead. LYON rule the river, and C9 falls to pieces. Sven's gonna get procced by the fear, and he's down. Everybody on C9 except for Blabber hits the dirt, and LYON holds the line.
Big play there for LYON. look at Dokla here, goes in, perfect bubble though from Vulcan, saves him, but at the same time, it's the flashbacks. Sven actually kind of, I think it was on him, he kind of betrayed the team. Someone flashed there as the Nocturne ulti was coming in, but it wasn't timed perfectly, so tried to flash the combo, didn't time it well, pulled the combo into the rest of their team, and ended up making it this AoE engage. This was key though from Sven, turns around, knocks down Berserker, because without that, they would have lost Baron off of that as well, and it could have been a game-losing play. But damn, still a huge play for LYON, 4K gold lead. We are at 3 dragons apiece. We are going the maximum amount of dragons here before Soul.
Isaac, can you do me a favor and check the cooldown on the ultimate for Inspired here real quick? Because I think that's one thing.
47.
47 seconds, because they did have the fail knock wave in that fight that didn't turn into any kills back and forth, and then the ulti was ready to go again by the time everyone was repositioned to fight over the Drake. These Nocturne cooldowns are so short, it's very easy for Inspired to try to make these plays and go fishing for these opportunities.
Yeah, has a good amount of ability haste, 30 ability haste, plus obviously he has the ulti ability haste on top with the experimental hexplate, so effectively 60 ability haste, you know, for that ulti.
Is he running Ultimate Hunter as well?
I can check on that for you. Yes, he is.
Okay, so
and he has 5 stacks, so 91.
So 91
ability
haste on his ultimate specifically is a lot. 47 seconds is not a great downtime for an ability as impactful as level 3 Paranoia. So Inspired and the rest of LYON now going to look to maintain control over the top side river and this Baron pit.
We do have now GA done for Sven. So he had the IE, we saw how much burst he's able to put out. Now he has the GA, so the targets are becoming, you know, few and far between. That is, you know, we might have to see them try to change his one-shot a Nami at the start of the fight or something like that, because it's Zhonya's on APA, it's GA on Sven, it's GA on Blabber. Like, there's not a lot of good targets now for this one-shot, so we'll see. You know, sometimes it still is best to just try to one-shot this person in the GA and then everyone stacks on top of them and you kill them again. But if you're hitting no one else during that, well, you're ignoring the Zir, who's going to be doing a lot of damage. So I do think as these luxury items come through, it can get difficult for LYON. Let's see how they can navigate in this late game situation. It really feels like it might all come down to this next dragon here in 2 minutes. I doubt anyone's going to be brave enough to just start the Baron in the face of the other team. It feels like a death sentence, so I think we are probably, barring a mistake, waiting that 2 minutes for this Cloud Soul.
All right, just a little bit of NA RAM here at the dead middle of the map as everyone clears their minion waves back and forth, tries to trade poke, but man, what does the poke trading even matter? Again, you mentioned earlier Vulcan's Nami just kind of heals off everything.
You can look at the damage stats at the end.
You got to pad the stats so that you can screenshot the graph at the end if you lose and be like, how did I lose this one? Riot matchmaking, please.
And if you win, you look at the end of the graph at the end, you point to your teammates, you see how much damage I did?
You just be like, look at that bar. What are you guys
crazy.
doing? That's
Where's your bar?
Yeah.
Your bar's nowhere.
Well, we still got to get to the end of the game first. 41 minutes in this first one.
We like those top 2 ones, you know?
Yeah, those are some good emotes.
Those are some handsome emotes right there.
I'd be posting those in every chat if I was in chat right now, but I can't be in chat right now because I'm at my job. But we do have LYON looking at the job in front of them here in less than 90 seconds, and it's trying to secure that Cloud Soul. Nocturne with a Cloud Soul is so scary. You talk about if C9 got it, it makes it that much harder for LYON to accomplish their mission and chase down these targets. You are never getting away from Nocturne after he ults you if he has Cloud Soul.
It's Serpent's Fang coming in from Inspired for a little bit of tech. Obviously, there are some shields, you know, potential Ares shield, the barrier shield. There's the E from Azir as well as the W from Blabber. So not like the most value, but it's also, I think, probably more likely just what you can afford going into this next fight, knowing you have to get as strong as you possibly can. It's
the largest offensive contribution you can make at this point is halving those shields. Because like you said earlier, it's not like you've built this entire time to have attack speed and true DPS or whatever. This is just, okay, the most impact I can make for bringing their health bars to 0 is this. This is what I buy.
And Berserker, you know, does have that tier fully stacked, the second one, but has not elected to spend the money on that just yet. So he is sitting on, you know, 5 items plus boots, not at that true 7-item build right now, just about dead even with where Sven is on the other side.
Yeah, he did have Last Whisper alongside the stacked tier, so he wanted to evolve the Whisper into Sorelda's Grudge first. Vulcan throws a bubble into the brush, as Thanatos going to walk in there. Dokla is spotted on the ward. They know where the Croc is. As soon as he's tagged with the weirding, he goes into the Dominus. True Shot Barrage flies through, but it only hits Sven. Now Saint could be in a little bit of danger here. Inspired trying to find Sven. Dokla now on top of the AD carry from C9, but it's going bad for LYON. They've already lost Saint, and Dokla's Guardian Angel will not keep him from the gates of hell. A shutdown goes to Sven, as LYON have already lost 2 men, and C9 are looking for a Dragon Soul.
Yeah, that may be the straw that breaks the Lions' back here. This is going to be the Soul. It's going to be probably the Baron right after it as well, as LYON trying to look for these clever angles on the engage, but they get spotted out. Berserker's doing a lot of work, though.
Yeah, Berserker's trying to make something happen here. Blabber goes forward, forces the flash out of the 80 carry for LYON. And yeah, Dokla, it's one of those cardinal sins about wrapping deep through the enemy jungle looking for the flank. You've got to have a sweeper or a control ward or something. Because as soon as they saw Dokla, they jumped on him, they punished him, and LYON wasn't able to answer. Now it's C9 going after the Baron. Saint is still dead for 10 seconds. Dokla's still dead for 15. Nobody on LYON is going to stop anything about this. And the pendulum swings again as the gold re-equalizes. Let's take another look at the fight.
Yeah, we got to watch it one more time. Dokla got spotted, but then Saint was kind of over here. They were trying to set up for a knockwave combo, but Saint got spotted, I think, by the sweeper, and they just immediately went back in. His shockwave, when it came out, was very late and hit nothing. You know, he zoned, he flashed out, and then the flag and drag got him away from that shockwave. So Blabber doesn't get hit. We are back to live, and yeah, it is dead even as far as the gold is concerned, but that is not showing the stats from the Baron. That is not showing the stats from the Soul. Just even the flat move speed is so powerful on that Cloud Soul.
Yeah.
To me, that is where most of the power is. There's not amazing synergies as far as, you know, move speed on their ults, besides maybe like Aurora or something, but we'll see if LYON can navigate a comeback here, because this is going to be really, really tough. Saint is split pushing top. Dokla's trying to push in mid. So Cloud9 is just going to play through one lane. They're just going to try to barrel down this bot lane. And if Saint doesn't recall really soon, that inhibitor is just absolutely gone.
Exactly. LYON's saying we think that the best thing we can do is try to create distractions in side lanes, and C9 will answer with a death ball.
But do they try to
in
end
the bottom lane, as Berserker is now the target. They want a full send with Sven and Blabber, as Inspired is now super low on HP. They're almost ready to kill the Nocturne, but they can't quite get the DPS.
Saint's still going.
C9 is demanding a response from the solo laners of LYON. Saint finally completes his recall, but the first Nexus turret is already down. LYON can't find their opportunity to stand their ground. APA goes in for the shuffle. He's not going to find a target on Inspire, but it will not matter. The Nexus is gone, and C9 takes game 1.
C9 able to pull a rabbit out of the hat there. They take the game, but damn, I feel like LYON means they're pushing one lane. They're going to take our inhibitor, and then they're going to have to base and defend, and, you know, we're going to get clever with it. And C9's like, what if we just end the game, though?
Death ball bottom.
And as soon as they postured to try to end the game, Saint needed to recall instantly, and he didn't. And Dokla did, but he didn't have empowered recall. So by the time they arrived, Nocturne Ult had already been used. Berserker had to like flash out and run away, and it was just kind of cooked. You have no more threats at that point. So yeah, a bit anticlimactic.
All right, heading into draft for game number 2, LYON has elected to claim last pick for themselves. Remember, we do have this different system now where we don't have
selection, it's
first
called.
pick tied to the side. So LYON, as the losers of game number 1, selected last pick, and C9 then selected blue side. So this one's going to look very similar to what you've seen for years and years and years at this point. C9 going to go ahead and ban out Malphite, Nico, and Lulu. Meanwhile, LYON is going to ban out the Jace, the Varus, and the Ziggs.
It's really interesting because historically, you know, blue side has always been really, really OP with first pick and everything. So all the coaches I talked to in the preseason were telling me, oh yeah, it's just going to be, everyone's just going to choose first pick and no one's going to care about blue side, red side, right? But statistically, last pick has actually been doing a lot better. And even red side has been doing better than blue side. So pretty interesting. It's actually pretty counter to expectation for most people. It can sometimes just be a meta thing where, you know, if there's a lot of counters available and less OPs that are just blindable, then generally first pick is kind of just weaker than last pick. But it is interesting to see that it's just a little bit of a surprise to me.
Well, whenever I see a team select last pick as their choice, I am then in judgment mode. I'm putting on my powdered wig, I'm grabbing my gavel. If you are not picking a good, meaningful counter for your last pick that can't just slot into somewhere else.
I'll be the guy that yells, order in the court, when you bang your gavel.
Fantastic. You can be my bailiff.
Yeah.
And then that means we are going to judge this last pick. I don't want to see some BS that could have been picked on first or second rotation and not change anything.
When you go Ornn 5.
Yeah, Ornn 5. I'm not
off with his head.
I'm not looking for Ornn 5. But we have a Pantheon first pick here for C9. They're going to go ahead, lock in Cassante and Talia with it. Pantheon, Talia, we know how that combo is so deadly. Over on the other side, they lock the Rumble and the Vi. So Talia not only working well with Pantheon, but being denied from working with the Vi.
And it looks like LYON are basically just going for the same style of composition that they did last time. If they lock in the Ahri, Vi Ahri, it's a similar kind of dive style that you would see. But considering some other options, so we won't get into it too much unless they do lock it down. But I mean, it would make sense alongside the Rumble and the Vi, and it is locked. So yeah, I feel like they're basically doing the same thing that they did last game, right? And they had the Knockwave combo last time, with his aggressive top laner. They're going for, a similar style. It's full dive, it's centered on the back line, and that is what LYON has opted into. I always feel like from this point, you want to ban out some of the picks that are really strong defensive picks to mitigate that. So I immediately think of like Renata and Braum and champions like this. Or if you want to target the AD carry, I think of safe AD carries. Ezreal was already played last game, but like Saya and things along those lines that are going to be really, really safe and difficult to dive. Those would be the kind of picks that I would want to deny. Vulcan's also a really good Bard, so this can make sense. You can also do, Bard ultimate defensively as they are Vi ulting in and kind of use that as like a Zhonya's. But I'm going to be curious to see, if they ban out some more of those kind of safety picks and if Cloud9 opts into them if they're available.
All right, C9, what's it going to be? Are we going to look at the supports? Are we going to look at the AD carries?
They did it last game. That's my assumption, that they're just going to ban out Berserker.
Okay, well, Yunara is the first step in that plan, and they will remove it.
They could ban out, Aphelios if they want to take away another crit marksman. Obviously, you're going to need some sort of consistent damage to be able to deal with, Rumble and kind of that, the Cassante and that sort of front line. So, wouldn't be surprised to see more kind of crit marksman getting banned out.
Yeah, both teams have a true bruiser-style jungler, but C9 has a very tough frontliner, whereas that just does not exist on LYON's composition in these first 3 picks. So I'm curious to also see if LYON really wants to go for that AoE engage on the support role. Otherwise, it's just Vi. Yep. We do have the Xayah banned out, like you were talking about, one of those safe marksmen that really just Vi hates her life playing against Xayah because it's so easy to just ult her ult.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Ezreal, Xayah, to me, are always the premier defensive AD carries, right? They are some of the safest. When Tristana is meta, I feel like Tristana is actually kind of in there, too. Tristana is really good defensively because you have the Buster Shot as well as the Rocket Jump, so you can kind of self-peel quite effectively. And it is not going to be a second AD carry ban. Instead, it's going to be the Nautilus, which does pair really well with the draft that they were going for. You just kind of point and click, R comes down, Rumble over the top. Aphelios was the ban that I was expecting, though, and Aphelios might be the lock as a result. So that might have been what C9 was discussing, like, hey, what do we care more about? Stopping Nautilus with the engage or stopping, Berserker from getting Aphelios? Because I do feel like you need that sort of consistent DPS, and this is the best crit marksman that's really kind of up and available right now.
Yeah, he's a crit marksman who has that consistent damage that you're talking about, but at the same time, with Calibrum and Moonlight Vigil, he also has the range to contribute to the fights. If Vi and Ahri have to full send a mile away, he can still contribute more easily than something else might be able to.
Infernal can be pretty juicy too.
Yeah, you can have a lot of really good contribution from range before you full commit onto things.
Infernal Ult is just dopamine as well. That's always the one I want to press.
It looks cool. It feels good.
The blue explosions.
It was, it birthed a meme back when he first released, and it was the haha funny whole team dies button, right? Like, that was the origin of 200 years. Lucian Braum, okay, a tried and true staple here for C9. Braum, one of those defensive champions that you were talking about that's great at impeding what a dive comp wants to do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's interesting because I feel like the draft in the second phase kind of went to chalk of everything I was kind of expecting, right? You're targeting some of these defensive tools that they could have to really shut you down. And on the other side, they're deciding, how do we want to shut down Berserker? Do we want to take away the double crit marksman? They only take one, so he takes away the other. And this is interesting. So it's going to be Renata here for Isles. I mean, there is obviously some dive from the C9 side. You can deal with Blabber and whatnot. But generally, I feel like Renata works way better into comps that are just like full hard engage. And I feel like C9 is going to be more in the camp of kiting back. Because LYON's comp just naturally has to hard engage, right? And I don't think C9 wants to like opt into that. I'm not saying they're never going to go for a pick, but it can be difficult. Obviously, the other perspective is we full send it, Vi ult, Ahri ult, Rumble ult, everything goes in, and then everyone is clumping up and kind of like trying to defend this and whatever, and you just kind of create chaos.
Turn the bodyguards on
exactly. You just throw the Renata ult over the top, but it can get blocked by a Braum wall, and just generally speaking, if they're kiting back, it's really hard to get value out of Renata. So that pick does surprise me as the 5th pick.
Okay.
But the other 3, I think, were all kind of like according to plan, and the bans and stuff were all kind of according to plan. So it'll just be interesting to see, you know, if the bets they made were correct. You know, was it better to take away that Nautilus and limit their hard engage, or should they have dealt with this Aphelios, and will that be a problem for them?
I also really want to see how much they can get, not just the micro combo of the Pantheon and the Taliyah to work together, setting up the stun for the shove, but the macro combo of Taliyah and Pantheon for the C9 side, using Weaver's Wall and Grand Starfall together to create those numbers advantages, whether it's at, you know, the setup for a neutral objective or just a play on a side lane. I feel like those 2 champs have such huge synergy on multiple levels. It needs to go right.
So you're telling me Dokla's not going to have fun again?
I feel like this should be not just unfun, it should be the antithesis of fun for Dokla. You're up against Cassante, so if you ever go too close to the tower, you get lay balanced comboed 300 meters backwards into Eternal CC. And then if you push up at all, it's just going to be Taliyah Pantheon.
That's the top lane experience, baby.
Good old top lane. Nothing beats that.
Yep. But he does have first strike, so we'll see if he can farm some gold off the Cassante before he dies 50 times in the side lane. And maybe Inspired will be in the brush when they come up there and they can turn it around. And then you are having a lot of fun, right?
Then you're having a great time.
Like, ha! Gank me again.
Fire those Rumble, Pineapple, ult. I think it's pineapples that he shoots in this skin.
Is it coconuts or pineapples?
I'm pretty sure it's pineapples.
Something tropical.
Yeah, on his back, it looks like pineapples. Yeah. Because they got the little green thing on the top.
Okay.
Coconuts don't have a green thing.
That's true.
Yeah,
and pineapples taste a lot better than coconuts.
Like,
I don't know if that's a hot take.
No, I agree with that. Pineapples are delicious. Coconuts taste like guilty water. Water that did something wrong. It's just not. No.
I've never heard it described that way.
Not a big coconut fan.
Yeah.
But we do have. I am a big fan of fun, competitive League of Legends games. I think our first
nice transition.
Yeah,
you got right out of that.
Came up with that one on the spot. But we got a first game that honestly spent what, like 35, almost 40 minutes, not even being 1,000 gold apart. Like both teams were really just
like that.
Blow for blow in game number 1. And I hope we get a whole series of it.
Yeah, me too. So. You know, if we do want that 3-game series, of course, LYON will have to take this second game. We'll see if they'll be able to do so. As APA and Saint were really scrapping it up in the mid lane. APA already out of mana, so he's just going to head right back to base. You can see he is playing Phase Rush as well as Ghost, so he's not playing TP, which is obviously pretty atypical. But it is going to be really tough. If you don't one-shot him, he's going to be tough to lock down, right? Like, he's going to proc Phase Rush, he's going to have Ghost, he's just going to kind of zoom away. And likewise, on the chase down, when you play some of these kind of comps, and when Taliyah gets in towards Rylai's, if a fight starts going bad, there is no disengaging, because you're just getting perma-slowed by Rylai's and chased down by this ghosted Taliyah.
Okay, let's see what our junglers are up to now that the lanes are thoroughly underway. We do have both of them clearing out their second buffs, going for that top side into bottom side clear. We'll see if they end up wanting to move towards that bottom lane at all. It is a pretty serious push from the LYON duo, which means that Inspired feels empowered to take this bottom side Scuttle Crab, knowing that his bottom lane duo is going to have priority. Blabber can see that his guys are stuck underneath the turret, so he heads towards the top crab.
Yeah, there's pretty much no way you would expect them to get dominated in that 2v2. You know, when you do have that range support advantage, Braum is going to have some difficulty for sure, but Sven and Vulcan just farming it up, and not really a difficult lane in the same way that the last one was. You may have to seed push. You may not be able to look for aggressive plays, but last time against Karma Ezreal, they were kind of getting smacked around. You know, they were down a lot of CS early, and it was kind of this tale of Thanatos bullying top lane, and Berserker and LYON were bullying that bot lane. This time, it's just kind of an even farming situation, but Sven did have to recall and run straight out. And it's also worth mentioning that APA did use his Ghost on his first recall just to get right back to lane.
So the Scryer's Bloom that was used did see Inspired as he was moving towards the top side. He wanted to make sure that Dokla didn't get ganked by Blabber as he was trying to crash the wave into the turret. Now Inspired does just hang around this area a little bit longer, did not want to go for another recall, instead just waiting on the Krugs to respawn so he can do another full clear. So both junglers still just kind of mirroring one another's actions as Dokla maintains the push up here in the top lane, but honestly, Thanatos still is the one with the higher farm, so the Cassante is perfectly comfortable here.
Yeah, Cassante's got to be really happy with that. I mean, that is one of the difficulties of Rumble. If you are not playing this champion really well, it's so easy to mess up your own CS. You know, with the Flame Spitter Harass.
Just cook him on accident.
Exactly. You're just kind of cooking him, and then they get to weird health thresholds, and they get killed off by the enemy minions. So that can happen, and being down 9 CS is not the situation you want to be in this early. And we're going to see Thanatos already has that cloak, so he's already building up a lot of MR here at this point.
Okay, junglers, where are we going? What are we doing here? We're both farmed up to level 5. Looks like we are going to get recalls out of both Blabber and APA before either one of them hits level 6. This is a good sign. This is a good sign for what I wanted to see for Weaver's Wall, Grand Starfall combos. If they're both making a purchase right before they're getting to level 6, they should be equipped and confident to use those ultis in tandem once they have the opportunity. But Saint will get the chance to take that first plate here mid lane as APA recalled.
And we can take a chance to talk a bit about these mid laners and their week 1 performances. APA, 1 player of the week. We saw that interview with Raz. First time in his career, which is pretty cool. You know, he joined a new team, immediately win player of the week. But he was really big for the squad, going up against his own team, going up against Quid, who had been the person who replaced him, right? He had this really big standout performance, not even just statistically, but made some really big plays, and was so happy with how that turned out.
All right, bottom lane, Vulcan and Sven stepping up here, trying to square up against Isles and Berserker in the 2v2. Berserker does have the white gun, very good for scrapping, but Gravitum there with the purple, not quite as useful. APA goes in, Unraveled Earth into the seismic shove. No, Blabber wanted to get the stun, but the shove had already missed. Now C9 trying to get themselves away as Blabber will be the sacrificial lamb. Saint shows up, Blabber goes down, first blood over to LYON. The charm misses, trying to make it a 2-for-0, but LYON will happily walk away with that kill.
Yeah, really well played by LYON. And that's a pretty big punish. You don't even get the flash off of Berserker. You're going to lose the Dragon. First blood goes over to Saint. And this is that roam that they try to make happen. And they kind of just did the combo in the inverse way, where it was like APA threw the seismic shove, and then Blabber tried to flash stun him in the seismic shove, but the flash had already come out. And you know,
it just looked weird.
Yeah, it just kind of seemed like APA just sent it a little bit too early. Blabber needed to be closer to be able to flash stun and then guarantee the seismic shove out of it. He sees, oh crap, the seismic shove is coming. Blabber's like, I gotta get there. Tries to go for it, but it wasn't perfectly synced up. Isles had a great flash as he sees that flash come in there from Blabber. And then once that was used, he's just gonna get slowed down and knocked down. I think they were actually trying to give that to Berserker, but it looked like Saint kind of accidentally got it, maybe with some W charges or Spirit Rush charges or something like that. Kind of went over and got that kill.
And I feel like sometimes these champion combinations that we laud and applaud so often can turn into a double-edged sword like that, because you know, oh yeah, if we work together and we do our combo, it's just free money. But you get a little bit too hypey, you get a little bit too anxious trying to make that play and force that play, and then you bungle it. Yeah. And you end up being the ones who give your opponents something free. LYON, again, happy with that first Drake. No contest thanks to that. First blood already on the board. And it doesn't come at any cost, because it's not like C9 could have taken the grubs at the same time. Those still 15 seconds away from spawning. So LYON are happy down here in the bottom lane. Berserker's going to get to continue to scale. The kill did go over to Saint on the Ahri, so accelerating that mid laner, who's traditionally very good at these like mid-game skirmish type of fights. If Saint's in really good shape heading towards those, LYON will be happy to use that aggressively.
Yeah, they absolutely will. I mean, he was in a great spot last time on the Orianna, you know, and he was really kind of like a pivotal part of a lot of their success when they had it in those team fights. So we'll see. You know, obviously we talk about the mistake from the side of Cloud9, but also Isles is deserving of credit. Like, his flash was super fast. As soon as Blabber flash W'd, he already had flash, and it's kind of one of those things where it's a same time thing, so you just end up stunned, but out of that seismic shove. So credit to him. I think Isles is one of the pieces that was kind of overlooked when people talk about, super team for LYON. They're looking at Inspired, Insane, and Berserker, and not so much talking about Isles or talking about Dokla, who obviously came in as a replacement for Zamudo. They wanted to play with him, couldn't get the visa. That really sucks for Zamudo. But Dokla had a great Worlds last year, you know, really impressed a lot of people, so he's going to be a good fill-in for them. And, you know, we'll see if Isles can kind of change some minds about him, because Isles, you know, has had some teams that were kind of expected to be a bit better. For the most part, he's played on kind of like lower ranked teams, lower ranked rosters. This is an opportunity that he has to really prove himself, right? And it's going to be exciting to see if he can kind of change some hearts and minds about how good of a support he is.
Well, we've got Blabber taking those grubs right now. He will go ahead and secure the first 2. Inspired is nearby, but it should just be Blabber getting all 3 grubs, so there's that. Again, it's the same story as game number 1, where first Drake goes one side, all 3 grubs go the other, so pretty even split on our first objectives. But again, grubs are a down payment objective. You do need to have the ability to have some pressure on these turrets for those to really pay dividends, and we'll see if C9 can get that for themselves, because there's still 5 plates standing there in the top lane, still 4 in mid lane, and I believe 4 down here in the bottom lane on the LYON side. So C9 haven't had a lot of push. They haven't had a lot of chance to really put the work in on those structures yet.
Yeah, I mean, look at Dignitas' build. He went double Negatron, so that's not going to build into anything.
124 MR.
It is going to give him a lot of MR early, so it is going to delay his first item power spike, but it does have a lot of flat resists here. You know, we're assuming one of them will be a Koenig Rookern, and then we'll see what he wants to do with the other. But, you know, definitely going to be not getting bullied by Dokla anytime soon. Did not elect to go, you know, into kind of some of those more aggressive builds, but is just trying to withstand that onslaught and doing a great job of it. I mean, he's up 20 CS right now, which is incredible in this matchup. And yeah, the gold is pretty close because first strike gold is going over and whatnot, but he's got to be really happy with how things have gone.
Yeah, I feel like if you're playing a tank into Rumble and you're winning in CS, you don't even care if it's close. Like, you're already doing what you need to be doing. You're perfectly confident going into the fights as well. You talk about the double Negatron cloak, but he also has a chain vest in inventory too. So it's not like he's just going to melt if the Aphelios or the Vi starts hitting him. So should be plenty durable if he needs to come to one of those objective fights, the next one of which will be in 30 seconds for the second Drake. It's a Chemtech Drake, which generally has the lowest priority of all of them. Do you think this is even worth fighting for both teams, or it'll mostly just be, all right, you can have it?
I think it's only going to be one of those things where they go if they think they will win the fight and they want it as a tool to start the fight, right?
Okay. The Drake itself isn't the point.
No, I don't really think it's a big deal whatsoever. So we'll see if there is a fight breaking out. Might be here.
Okay, immediately it's Saint and Inspired going in after Sven. They charm him up, but they can't quite burst him down. Beautiful protection coming in from C9 as APA and Vulcan come to the rescue. Inspired's going to be knocked out through the bailout, and LYON have overplayed their hand. Saint tries to get away as Vulcan goes forward for the Winter's Bite, and APA picks up another. Grand Starfall coming in from Blabber, but Isles is able to escape for now. Here with a flash follow-up from Blabber's not going to allow him to get all the way home. Send the news of their demise. LYON go behind enemy lines, and they aren't coming back.
Hey, Bard is not a bad ban, but Braum looking pretty strong in some of these fights, man. And a lot of this went wrong before the replay even started because the Q flash missed from Inspired. Sven was ready for it. He dashed back, and he had the barrier to absorb so much of this damage, and Vulcan was just a brick wall there. Uses the Summoner heal, blocks so much damage, and then just hits Winter's Bite after Winter's Bite. Even after this great handshake from Isles, it just doesn't matter because they connected so many of those Qs.
That's so bad.
And Inspired's acknowledging the play was not the execution they were looking for, and certainly not the result that they wanted. Their 1-0 game now turns to a 1-3 game favoring C9. Gold still very close overall, and this bottom lane tier 1 turret for C9 is still very low on HP, which is why APA is still down here protecting it, making sure the minions get nowhere close.
Yeah, and credit to APA, very fast on the roam to match that play. You know, he gets down there. Sven and Vulcan were super aware that this could be happening and reacted so well to it. If the Q flash hits, I think he just insta-dies, and it's a completely different story. But the fact that he doesn't insta-die and he gets to channel a full culling into Inspired, who spent his flash, like, that was game-changing. And now APA, they just fought to the death. He just takes him down.
Yeah, was not expecting this to go all the way to the zeroed out health bar. And APA even hitting him in the all chat right after, "What are you doing, freak?" Like, that is crazy.
The freak is crazy.
Talking.
I mean, it's honestly kind of similar to the death that Quid had to APA last week, if you remember that, where CoreJJ came mid and Quid was playing Orianna, and he just kind of like walked into the Azir soldiers and just kept getting autoed by APA until he died.
Wow.
APA's got the mind control.
Yeah, thank you very much, observers, producers, for putting that on the screen. I also love the fact that it's spelled wrong, because that shows you he's going for just speed over accuracy with the typing. He's in the moment. He's feeling it. This is what I love to see. Yappa is back.
Yeah.
He is here, and he's winning these 1v1s.
Yeah, I mean, the Seismic Shove connects right at the same time as the Charm. Saint, I thought he was just going to back it up. I was like, I saw this happen, and I was like, oh, that's that. but he just went straight back in. Does hit the charm, but it was too little too late. APA just kind of takes him down. Saint opted into it, thought he could outplay, not able to make it happen. And APA is one of our few NA mid laners here. We have a lot of Korean imports in the mid lane, some of the strongest players. And a lot of people talking about how guys like APA and Palafox and Darkwings aren't going to be able to match up to these Korean mid laners, to these top level players. Well, so far so good for APA. I think he was solid in game number 1. I think he was stellar last week against Quid. And he has shown that he is not to be messed with.
Yeah, this guy is scary down there, man. Now 500 gold up, 2-0-2 on the Talia. Blackfire Torch has the fully evolved tier 3 boot. You can see a very similar build for Saint, but his quest is not yet complete. Saint actually the one player on the Rift right now who still does not have his quest done. And
nerfed or not, Vandal Pipes, they are still really, really strong, and I feel like Braum is an insanely good user for them. Obviously, the ulti slow, the Q slow, the passive stun, like there's so many ways for him to be able to apply it, and it kind of turns him into a mini enchanter.
Okay, nice seismic shove from APA here on Saint. Follow-up coming in from Blabber. He ends up taking the kill on it, but that was all APA setting it up and getting it done. 2,000 gold lead for C9. Another kill onto the Ahri. Now you're going to have that Rift Herald targeted. And what you said about the Vandal Pipes, I feel like it's an attack speed aura. So obviously some champs are going to like it more than others. But with Braum, everybody likes it because you're stacking concussive blows.
Yeah. Look at Thanatos' build, by the way.
Yeah, this is just... Okay, Isaac, what do tanks like in League of Legends? They like to resist damage. So you just build a shield, a tank needs a shield, and then 4 items that resist damage.
I mean, it's just a cold winter's day. He's got 2 vests, 2 cloaks.
1 vest for your front, 1 vest for your back.
Yeah.
1 cloak for your front,
Layers.
1 cloak for your back. 1 dead AD carry in the mid lane as Berserker gets bulldozed. The Herald gets summoned up. The Tier 1 turret falls. Tier 1 turret's about to die in the top lane at the same time from APA's split push. Those 3 Void Grubs I mentioned earlier, that down payment, dividends are coming in, and C9 is up to almost a 3,500 gold lead 16.5 minutes into the game.
Yeah, it feels like the wheels are kind of falling off a little bit here for Dignitas
they rolled down the road.
Game 2. This is tough, and Inspired's just going to keep chasing and see if he can find anyone, but APA was recalling in that back rush and is going to be staying safe here. This is going to be really, really tough now. You have to think for LYON to be able to come back from this position. When you are playing a full send dive comp, like there is no fallback for Vi, Ahri, Rumble. You send all your buttons, you one-shot them or you don't. And when you are behind, it is pretty tough to one-shot them. We already have a Seekers coming through there for APA. You can already see a cloth armor for Sven, so he's at least going to getting, tabbies or something kind of defensive to be able to keep himself a little bit more safe. Obviously, Cassante is tough. There's the E for Pantheon that can kind of absorb all the damage. Braum is going to be blocking all the follow-up. It's just like, this is hard.
Sven just sees Thanatos' inventory. He wants to have some of that kind of fun, He just wants to build some resistances. Sometimes that's all a man needs on a nice weekend afternoon.
This is going to be like a record for latest item completion. We used to do the tracking of
the fastest one?
The fastest. He's going for the slowest.
Hey, man, a world record is a world record. It doesn't matter how you achieve it.
He's out of inventory spots, so the real problem is he has to build something now, He has to make an item. Unless he wants to sell his boots to buy another cloak, which I would respect.
Honestly, you got to sell boots to buy another belt. Then you have 2 of each defensive item.
Full build!
And then you're full build. Inspire tries to go in after APA, who immediately drops the stasis, flashing back out, trying to survive. Vulcan will be your sacrificial lamb, but a nice stun onto Inspired, looking to trade 1 back. Calling flies through. Inspired is low. Bailout is on him, but it ain't gonna save him. Make it a 1-for-1. LYON sent the whole damn kitchen sink, but now it's Thanatos looking to make some renovations. He's not gonna find his way to the kitchen just yet, but C9 will happily trade 1-for-1 on that one.
I mean, that was a 4v2 for what felt like 20 seconds, and they could barely get through the Braum, so things are looking tough. And I got an update from production that after APA trash talk Saint in all chat, Berserker had to mute him. So he forgot the pre-mute. He was reminded. He's like, crap.
It's a lesson you got to learn real quick.
Yeah.
You gotta block him in the in-game chat. You got to do it fast. Nice knockback coming out there on that third and Tofo strike from Thanatos. Saint has to use the Ahri ulti. That means he's going to feel way weaker until that cooldown is up again. Luckily for the side of LYON, there's no Dragon for 3.5 minutes to play for. Baron's going to be live here in about 60 seconds. Even though C9 has a 4,000 gold lead, though, you talked about it a bit last game. Baron is so deadly. It's still pretty risky to try to rush him at 20 minutes.
Yeah, and for LYON, well, Thanatos has less things in his inventory now.
Oh, true.
So that's a plus.
Oh, man, he combined 3 of his things into one thing.
Yeah,
I've
so
never
that is
been
less
so disappointed at an item completion.
Yeah.
I really liked his inventory.
Yeah,
but.
I was loving it.
All right, Jack Show. To be fair, Jack Show is kind of the spiritual successor to the inventory that he had because it's a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah.
So I'm
just build 5 Jack Shows.
If he has to complete an item, I'm fine with it being this one.
If he gets another belt, I'll forgive him.
Get another belt.
Get another belt
keep
next.
Building this nonsense.
Keep building Jack Shows.
The entire time. Just nothing but Jack Show. How do you even put on 5? You just walk around a helmet on each hand like a boxing glove?
Yeah, exactly. Strap him up. So I got him in duct tape.
Yeah, he's ready to go.
Some duct tape, some ingenuity.
Cassante and his Jack Show. A match made in heaven. All right, 4,000 gold for C9. LYON just seems completely out of sorts. You mentioned earlier the wheels falling off, and it just does feel like that they don't really know where to go with this composition in this current game state.
Yeah, I mean, they're Fred Flintstone. They're just their little feet under the car trying to keep it it running.
All right, boys, left foot, right foot. Make sure you sync them up. They're going to have to. Part of the VOD review this week will be doing like the army drills. Your left, right, left. Everybody's got to make sure they can keep the car going with only feet ready to run it.
When the wheels fall off.
You're ready. All right, C9, they're trying to take control over the enemy jungle now, placing down some vision, trying to make this map very, very scary for anybody from LYON, just trying to go out and farm their camps. Inspired's going to get his Krugs here. He's confident enough with the control ward in the tri-brush that nobody's going to be waiting to try to jump out and gank him. He'll group back up with Saint. Vulcan and Blabber just hanging around nearby in case anybody goes after APA, but everybody on LYON is just shadowing Saint right now as he pushes for the tier 1 turret top. C9 saying, all right, sure, tier 1, take it. We're going tier 2.
Yep, exactly. They're just going tier 2, mid, as well as that bot push, and Dokla on top, maybe.
Oh, that is just immediately. Dokla stepped 1 inch too far forward, and C9 sat him down and showed him why you can't do it.
Yeah, that is tough. I mean, both these AD carries do have their IE. It's like, oh, that's not so bad. And then you realize Sven has another item on top of that. So is a full item ahead. 2K lead for Sven, 1.6K for APA, 1.3 for Blabber.
Ooh, hold on now. This could be some trouble for APA. He has to go golden, try to get away from this one. There's no escape. Nice shutdown. And the kill going over to Saint is big, making sure he stops falling behind in this game. So nice punish there from LYON. APA, a little bit of an error.
Yep, a little bit of an error. Does get hit by that charm, so Saint getting a bit of revenge. Thanatos, though, pushing up on that top side. LYON will respond, so he will have to back it up, but not before grabbing 2 plates. And Cloud9 fully in control for now. It is going to be Cloud Soul once again, and they'll be looking for this 3rd dragon for sure. I mean, Cloud9 is just going to be so confident about really taking any fight whatsoever at this point of the game.
It's not a second Jack Show.
That's a worrying trend. Unending
despair. I was so sad because I saw...
That is what I feel when I found out that it wasn't another Jack Show.
Yeah,
I feel the unending despair.
Well, we still have a chance because a Negatron cloak builds into a Jack Show. So maybe he's making
could get another
an unending sandwich where the Jack Shows are the bread and the unending despair goes in the middle. That's the new item for Cassante. It's a secret unlock.
All will be forgiven if he goes for that.
I hope he can hear us right now as Berserker just wants to hear the sounds of that turret crashing down up there in the top lane. Nice equalizer from Dokla in mid to protect the tier 2. Try to give Berserker the opportunity to take this without a trade back from C9, and Berserker will do just that. So LYON bringing that gold lead back down to just under 3,000. But the Drake is live, not for long though, as it's claimed by C9, who now arrive at Soul Point, and yet again, it is a Cloud Soul Rift. Very scary stuff.
Yeah, it is going to be really tough for them to deal with. And Lucian, not only is move speed good, but it is one of these champions where just like the actual burst of move speed with the culling is really annoying.
Yeah.
You get tagged by Winter's Bite, and now all of a sudden you are getting chased down by someone with rockets on their feet.
It's problematic, man. It is such a big deal. In case y'all missed it, that power spike moment means that MasterCard card holders can click on the link pinned in chat for their chance to win $50 in RP. We've got our Lucian with Essence Reaver, Infinity Edge, Navori. This dude is so scary right now. I feel like if you're Lion and you start a fight where Sven is not just dead right out of the gate, that fight you are not going to win.
Yep, it is going to be so tough, and you have to kill him through Cassante and Pantheon and Braum and the Talia throwing down the unraveled earth and just being so annoying at this point. So going to be really difficult to try to pull off this dive. And honestly, Renata is kind of doing what I expected from Renata against this kind of composition. I just feel like it's so hard to play Renata into a composition that is kiting back, and I feel like that's always going to be what C9 is wanting to do. Only time they're going to be going forward is when they have, you know, an uneven fight. They're just going to insta-kill you, so it's just tough.
I mean, Renata's ulti walks slower than some champions do, right? So if you're going the same direction that the ulti is, you're probably going to beat it in a foot race.
And Braum has already blocked it, you know, once or twice this game. Like, that's another thing that makes it really difficult.
All right, Baron's been started up by C9. They've got it very, very low, but Lion is on the approach. Baron down, smited by Blabber. C9 on the retreat right now. Saint and the rest of Lion trying to catch up, see if there's anything they can find here, but no, they're too late to the play. They were caught unawares, and C9 takes a pre-25-minute Baron.
Yeah, just going to be able to rush that one down, and that's going to set themselves up really well.
Yeah, part of that setup, I'm looking at these timers, man. 3 minutes until what'll be their soul spawns. They've got Baron for the next 2.5. It means they'll run the entire rift. Even if you don't break the base, which I feel like is also unlikely, you still have total control for the setup over that next big power spike.
Yeah, and I think there's a good chance they could pressure these tier 2s. Lion is just going to have to get to this point where they full send in a side lane, right? And that's why they're covering APA.
Oh, APA, he's immediately ready with a stasis. The charm can't hit him, and now the TP's ready to back them up. C9 trying to punish Lion. Vulcan swooping around from the flank. Here's the Weaver's Wall. Winter's Bite already drops down. Where's the Glacial Fissure? Wall again defending from Vulcan. Defensive equalizer from Dokla. C9 continues pushing forward as Lion has to get everybody out. That's Flash from Dokla. Flash from Isles. Flash from Inspired. Thanatos goes in for the third in Topo strike. He's not going to find it. Gets back away with the Pathmaker, but now Vulcan is in danger. Vulcan and APA both low. Lion fighting for their lives, trying to cover their own retreat here. As C9 now backs away as well. Remember, the Baron-empowered recall is going to allow them to get back more swiftly, as Thanatos does have to stop that recall early to make sure he's not interrupted by Saint. Somehow, Azael, nobody's dead on either side there, despite multiple flashes being spent. Every flash except for Saint on Lion is now down. Over on the other side, it's the same tale for everybody except for APA and Sven, but that's the two big carries.
Those are the ones that really matter, and APA just bought a death cap off of that recall. Another really big spike there for Cloud9, so things going to be even more difficult from this point. It was a good attempt from Lion, though. You have to be willing to send it on these plays. You know, if there wasn't Blabber there kind of trailing APA, if APA didn't actually use his Zonias that fast and immune the charm, that could be a completely different fight. So it's a good swing there, and it does waste some of that Baron buff, but now C9 back to the scene of the crime. You have to think this tower is going to go down.
Back to the scene of the crime for even more crime. The sequel is even better than the original for
Double
C9.
Jeopardy, can't charge them twice.
Oh yeah, they've got this one taken care of, no problem. Tier 2 turret falls, C9 up 5,000 gold. And between all of the praises that we were giving him giving Inspired last game for his timing on being able to spell shield APA's Azir shuffles, APA now has the chance to pay it back with the timing on these stasis plays, and honestly, he's doing a good job with it. Weaver's Wall to buy the opportunity to fire into the turrets here. The tier 3 line under pressure as that bottom lane tier 3 turret is about to collapse. Double cannon minions empowered with Baron, nearly enough to bring it down. Berserker does clear out that last cannon in time, but C9 is not done yet with the siege. 20 seconds remain until the soul spawns. The Baron just now expires as they force down the tier 3. So C9 takes this opportunity. They got exactly what they needed to. They broke the base defenses with the last wave of Baron. Now they control the Drake.
Yeah, and look at the vision. There's no vision deep on the map for Lion. This is what makes it so difficult, is to have this soul spawning right after the Baron expires, because Baron is up, you were just locked into your base, you can't get out on the map, and then all of a sudden you have to try to get over to the Dragon. They're not even going to bother contesting. Look where Inspired is. He's in the top lane side brush, hoping maybe I can find a pick on someone, look for something, because they know no shot can you walk in blind and actually try to take that away from C9. If you walk in blind there, you're going to die, and they will just walk down bot lane with that open inhib and probably end the game.
Bottom lane is Australia. Inspired is having a nice Canadian vacation right now, not going anywhere near where all of the crocodiles live. That crocodile is claimed. Now APA stepping up towards the brush, not going to hit Inspired with it. Immediate stasis yet again as he tries to flash away. Thanatos is coming in looking to defend his mid. Saint's likely going to be first to die here. The bailout is going to bring him back, but he just dies right again. Lion looking to make their play with the numbers advantage. Blabber is taking low. Guardian Angel going to bring him back. Thanatos is fighting for his life, drain tanking everybody, but Berserker knocks him down. C9 scrambling, trying to get something back. Sven's the only damage. They got to try to protect him. The calling, firing into Dokla, but it's being blocked by minions. Sven is still looking to salvage this, but a huge play from Lion. Gets 3 for 1.
Yeah, and how much more can they get? You know, that just took about 2-3K off of the gold lead, and there's bounties up. Berserker's going to farm these plates, farm this tower, and they see Sven and Vulcan over here. They can maybe even get more.
Berserker's also got Crescendum. Remember, White Gun Aphelios, this is one of the very unique champions in the game. His attack speed is faster when he's right next to the turret. He can bulldoze these structures. Let's see this again as Inspired. Beautiful positioning here in the brush.
I mean, Inspired was up here for so long, APA with the early stasis, but this time it is not going to save him because the ulti was there. Even with Thanatos coming in, he blocks the charm. It just doesn't matter because the equalizer is there. All of the damage dealers for Lion were here faster. Even with Sven and Vulcan arriving, they just can't really get in. Sven's trying to find an angle, looks to dash in, but as he goes in, it's just right into the overheated Dokla. So really, he just kind of has to retreat immediately. And Lion find what feels like a miracle fight. It went from almost a 6K lead to just the 1K. Yes, there's still the Cloud Soul. Yes, it's still going to be difficult, but Lion showing they are not out of it just yet.
It looked like this game was wrapped up, just completely done for, except the semantics of just knocking down the turrets and taking the Nexus. And Lion, for the first time, I feel like in more than 20 minutes, looks like they've got a real honest shot at this game. That was huge.
That was absolutely huge. And I think it's such an important series for Lion because people, Lion feel, and a lot of Lion fans feel, are underrating them, right? This was the average power rankings amongst the broadcast, had them averaged out at 4th. A lot of people, a lot of Lions fans were expecting them to be up at the very top and to be, you know, looked at as a real title contender. And, you know, this is an opportunity for them to kind of prove everyone wrong. Say, hey, you guys have us too low. You know, we're taking down C9, C9 BTL. You know, that means we should be up at the top of the table. But, you know, if you do get 2-0'd, you know, people are going to be kind of having those feelings reinforced that they're not yet on that same level as the C9s and TLs potentially. So it would be huge if they could come back in this game.
Blabber and APA waiting, seeing if there's maybe a play to try to make here. Vulcan, Glacial Fissure doesn't find a whole lot. Just a knock up there onto Dokla. Inspired in the chicken pit. Doesn't see any reason to go back in there as Lion have already claimed the tier 1 turret in the mid lane. Gold lead now less than 1,000. It's a fair fight here in the mid lane. Less than 3 minutes until the Elder spawns. Inspired charging up a Vault Breaker, but no chance to go in with that one. Blabber knew he was there, marked him, would be ready to lock him up if the Vi tried to engage. Lion still looking for any chances they might get. Berserker tagging APA there with the Gravitum, means he's able to get that extra little bit of damage with the Root. As Lion continue posturing aggressively. They're not afraid. They don't have to be as afraid as they were for what felt like the last 20 minutes of gameplay. You do have the Guardian Angel up on Sven. He tries to drop the culling, forces the Spirit Rush out of Saint's Ahri, who's still looking to maybe try to get some value out of those second charges. Vulcan throws up Unbreakable. Saint still looking for a little bit more. Last Spirit Rush is expended, so the Ahri much less threatening now.
Yeah, it's a 52-second cooldown, so not that long. But C9 are going to try to force. They know Ahri is pretty worthless without ult, so they're going to say, you know what? You have to fight us now, but there's still a lot of risk here going in towards that Baron pit.
This could define the entire game right now as Lion tries to step up. C9 not putting a ton of DPS into the Baron here just yet. Grouped up as 5, Equalizer down over the top. Not a ton of damage here as Vulcan's blocking a lot with the Unbreakable, but he has to flash away or else he's going to die. Lion looking for their chances. Weaver's wall to block any further pursuit. C9, they lose most of the HP on their support, half the HP on their jungler. Blabber has no Guardian Angel and Lion's got full health bars. Vulcan recalling right now, trying to go back to base and heal up. damage onto the Baron, about halfway dead already. C9 are now the ones tasked with stopping the objective. LYON called the bluff, and C9 are now forced to scramble. Baron down to 3,000 HP, and LYON are going to take the Baron and take the lead.
Nicely done. LYON just pushed them out, and C9 kind of disrespecting the power that LYON still had. The equalizer there really making all the difference, was perfectly placed by Dokla. You know, even with the Guardian, even with the Locket, these tools to try to negate it somewhat, he was roasting Cloud9, and now not only did they lose the Baron, they lose it right before the Elder. So let's watch this one more time. The seismic shove missed, then Inspired tries to go for this Q flash over the wall, not able to find the Q flash, unfortunately for him, and that's twice this game where he has whiffed. Rare mechanical errors from Inspired, but that equalizer softened them up so much that C9 didn't have the confidence to re-engage. And look at Thanatos just getting chunked out by Berserker. He is really strong now. He's on those 5 items, and he's up 1.7k out of nowhere.
Ooh, Thanatos gets charmed as he tries to go forward towards Saint. Guardian Angels up and ready to proc for both junglers and both AD carries. So 7 lives for each team to get through here as the Elder is about to spawn in 5 seconds. Flash! The follow-up's not there. The timing wasn't quite perfect on the seismic shove right after the stun from Blabber.
No TP, though.
Saint is low. He has to go back to the base. He can't teleport back into the fight. They forced him out for now, but Vulcan is also at death's door. LYON are going to start up the objective.
Yeah, Vulcan's going to go back, and he recalled way later and didn't have the empowered recall, of course. Now he's just canceling. He's realizing, you know what, I actually can't leave.
No.
So Vulcan's going to have to take the fight at 20% HP.
Vulcan's going to send Glacial Fissure and die. That's pretty much the lot that you are dealt if you're going to fight with this much health. C9 still posturing around the area, keeping an eye on LYON, who are starting the objective up yet again. Berserker will shred this thing if you give him the chance. Dokla is back in the base, here for LYON, trying to clear out the massive wave of minions. APA trying to fire a couple of skill shots here into the Tri-Brush. Elder alive, but he's quickly running out of patience. He'll return to his home as Dokla clears out the wave. He's going to go try to answer top. Dokla does have his TP ready to join the fight if they need him. Elder still at about 13k. Berserker, very slow damage onto the objective. C9 on the approach once more. Vulcan back to full HP. Thanatos tanking the Elder. Saint coming around on the flank, looking for the pincer attack. TP coming in. LYON has all 5 players here. C9 has all 5 players here. Elder Drake down to 7,000. Weaver's Wall going to cut off LYON. Inspired charging up the Vault Breaker as Thanatos and Blabber go into the back line. They're looking to force Berserker away. The Dragon's still at 5,000 HP. Thanatos looking to put the pressure on, but he's already down. Resurrection coming in here through the Guardian Angel. Berserker wants Inferno multi. Blabber's here on the front line. He's about to be dropped in the Guardian Angel now as well. LYON running. C9 staying alive somehow for now. Only Thanatos is truly dead.
Yeah, Thanatos is down. He will have TP, but he's not up for 45 seconds. C9 needs to try to delay. They only knocked down Inspired, and he just lost the GA. Berserker was so low, but didn't even die. Blabber's going back to base, has no ult, so he's rushing out, and LYON are right onto the Elder.
LYON starting this up. They burned it down to about half HP. C9 have to force them back. There's no jungler here for the C9 side, but a nice seismic shove. It's APA and he found Saint. Now Dokla's gonna try to find some damage right back the other way as Sven needs auto attacks. He lands a couple. He's trying to kite him out and he finds a second kill. Berserker looking for his way into the C9 lines, but no. Berserker gets knocked into the Guardian Angel. Blabber jumps back forward. A triple kill over to Sven. Berserker's alive, but the spear is ready to find his heart. Double kill over to Blabber. Ace, C9.
That's going to be the game. They're just going to TP in and end it. APA steps up when they need him most, finds the seismic shove to win the game.
The week 1 player of the week, the mid laner on a brand new team. Right when it looks like C9 might have fumbled game 2, APA finds the seismic shove. It's a faster one than game number 1. It's a Cloud9 2-0, and they're gonna love the way this week 2 looks.
What a finish to that one. Explosive game 2. It looked like LYON was just going to get blown out in the second game, but they made some great plays, able to pull themselves back in it, keep it really close. But when it mattered most, your APA finds that seismic shove onto Saint, gets that kill. All of LYON had to pull off, and that created the chaos that allowed Sven to just crush this fight.
We look back